This is the generic ballot test. This is when you test people in a generic question. Of course, the House races aren't generic. There are 435 of them. What happens when you go race by race?
What happens when you go race by race? Well, it's the same idea. Okay, House seat ratings with the GOP president, like back in 2005 and, of course, 2017. More net pickup seat chances. Well, last time around, look at that. Democrats were ahead by 33 seats. How about in 2005? Democrats were ahead by 7 seats. What's going on right now? It's actually Republicans. Actually, Republicans with more net pickup chances at plus 12, according to the Cook Political Report, when you add in the likelies, the leans, and the toss-up races. So it's not just on the generic ballot where Democrats are behind their 2017 and 2005 take. It's actually when it comes seat by seat, you see that, at least at this particular point, Republicans actually have more net pickup opportunities. This doesn't look anything like those wave elections back in 2006 or 2000. At this particular point, this election cycle looks a lot more like 2024 than it does than either 2018 or 2006. And so, of course, Republicans actually held onto the House back in 2024. Will it happen this time around? We'll just have to wait and see. But for anyone who's writing the Republican House's political obituaries, hold the phone. This is a reality check. Republicans are still very much in the game.
Harriet, and that'll be quite a reality check, I think, for a lot of Democratic voters.
Yeah.
Thank you very much
for
that.
Boy. So we got to talk about more bad news for Democrats. It seems like they're getting bad news almost on a daily basis as their party is in complete and total freefall, okay? And they're looking to revive their party with the upcoming elections in Virginia, in New Jersey, in New York City. And, you know, it seems as if they may be in for a surprise, okay? Because Democrats believe that they're a shoo-in to win those elections, to sweep those elections. But the closer that it gets to election day, the closer those races get, okay? But what they're really looking forward to is the midterms. And Democrats are receiving more bad news about the midterms and why they probably shouldn't get their hopes up too high that there's going to be some type of massive blue wave. Now, who knows? They could probably still win back the House. But again, massive blue wave, not entirely sure, okay? Because a new state, North Carolina, has joined in the GOP efforts to redistrict, okay, their states and the House seats in order to level the playing field against Democrats who have basically maxed out the gerrymandering in their state. And now Republicans are giving them a taste of their own medicine, and Democrats have been boo-hoo-wine and crying about it, okay? This new state that has joined in with Texas, with Florida, with other red states is North Carolina, okay, as their GOP has decided at the request of the president to join in the redistricting battle. Take a look.
State Republican legislative leaders announced plans today to vote next week to redraw the state's U.S. House district map. The decision makes North Carolina the latest state to embrace President Donald Trump's call to get more GOP seats nationwide. State Republicans already created a map in 2023 that resulted in GOP candidates winning 10 of the 14 state U.S. House seats in 2024. That division compared to the 7-7 seat split under the map used in 2022. Now only the district represented by Democrat Representative Don Davis is considered a true swing district and could be targeted by the GOP for an 11th seat. Davis won a second term last year by less than 2 percentage points. Now state Democrats are responding to the GOP's efforts to redraw congressional maps. In a statement, Governor Josh Stein said, quote, "The General Assembly works for North Carolina, not Donald Trump. The Republican leadership in the General Assembly has failed to pass a budget, failed to pay our teachers and law enforcement what they deserve, and failed to fully fund Medicaid. Now they're failing you, the voters. These shameless politicians are abusing their power to take away yours," unquote.
I genuinely, don't know how much more can our corrupt as fuck GOP do? They've already gerrymandered our state to death. What more is there to do? And I just saw a video from one of our representatives who said they've been called back to Raleigh to vote. But are they coming back to Raleigh to vote on the state budget plan that still has not passed? No. They're coming back to vote on this plan that the GOP have put together to help them cheat. People of North Carolina, they do not care about us. They still will not pass the state budget plan, but they will come back together so they can vote on this.
Republican leaders in the North Carolina state legislature announced today that they plan to hold a vote next week on a proposal to gerrymander the state's districts even more than they already are. This comes after President Trump asked Senate leader Phil Berger to redraw the districts in order to gain him another seat for the midterms next year. Berger had this to say: President Trump delivered countless victories during his first term in office. In 9 months into his second term, he continues to achieve unprecedented wins. We are doing everything we can to protect President Trump's agenda, which means safeguarding Republican control of Congress. North Carolina already has one of the most gerrymandered congressional maps in the entire country. In 2018, for example, Republicans won just over 50% of the vote, but gained control of 10 out of 13 congressional seats in the state. Now, the shameless North Carolina GOP is trying to take this a step further. House Speaker Destin Hall is blaming California for this. He had this to say: Our state won't stand by while Democrats like Gavin Newsom redraw districts to aid in their effort to obtain a majority in the U.S. House.
Yeah, so this is a big deal, right? And it is a big deal in the context of other things that are also happening that could possibly sway the midterms in favor of the Republicans dealing with the Supreme Court, right? And again, if all of this stuff happens in favor of the GOP, I'm telling you right now, unequivocally, it's over, right? It's over for the Democrat Party. They're done, like actually donezo.
Electoral arms race, which was clearly, undoubtedly started by President Trump in terms of his latest iteration, has now indeed turned toward North Carolina. 14 districts here. They used to reflect just what you said about a 50-50 state. It was 7-7 in terms of their seats. Republicans redistricted, and now it is 10 Republican districts to 4. And it appears they're targeting the first district where Don Davis won last time around, the Democrat, wondering if they can cut this tiny lead here away and pick up yet another seat, very much not representing the demographics of their state, the political demographics, but certainly representing something they would like. And they are far from alone. There are a dozen states out there right now that are actively involved in this battle over redistricting. Remember, Texas started down here. They wanted to redraw their lines to say we're going to do this and favor the Republicans there. California responded by saying they're in the process of it now. We'll do the same thing and we'll have a better advantage for 5 seats here. But then it just kept spreading. If you look at this map, a lot's going on. Some we don't include: New York, Illinois, talk there, but it hasn't really blown up into anything yet. That would favor the Democrats if they did. But look at the math, because this is where it really comes down and the rubber hits the road. Right now, the division in Congress, very narrow, actually represents pretty accurately, mathematically, how the country is divided over the question of the presidency. But if you look at this, this is what the party pickups would be for congressional districts. Republicans, 5. Missouri, 1. North Carolina, 1. Ohio, 2 or 3. Indiana, 1 or 2. Florida, still discussion down there, but that could be another gold mine for them if they tipped it even further their way. Kansas, 1. New Hampshire, 1. And Nebraska. Democrats, Utah, California, Maryland. Look at this. If you offset California and Texas, Missouri and Utah, North Carolina and Maryland, everything left over is an advantage to the Republicans. And
yeah, so this is why I told you guys when I was warning the Democrats about, hey, it's probably best if you don't retaliate to Texas, right? Because if California jumps in, and then it becomes a free fall where you have all these states that are racing to redistrict, Republicans are going to win. And the reason why is because Democrats have already juiced all the rigging that they can out of their blue states, right? They've already gerrymandered their blue states to the point where they can't really get much more out of blue states, right? But red states, again, they can get a lot more out. And one of the reasons why is because, again, unlike what this individual is saying here, back in 2020, the census was off. Right, it was not correct, and also on top of that, the census counts illegals as well too, which favors Democrats. But the census was off, okay, and red states like Texas, like Florida, should have gotten more seats than they got, okay, and because of that, the amount of seats that red states have is less than what they should have, and Democrats are overrepresented in Congress. That is the actual reality, and again, that is why. Again, Republicans have more juice, right, to gerrymander than Democrats do at this point. Democrats don't have anything. They don't have anything. And that's why, again, going tit for tat was not a great idea, because ultimately you're just going to end up with a bunch of red states saying, all right, we're going to get in on it. We're all going to do it. And if it's all red states versus all blue states, then the red states are going to win because they got more ammunition.
Don't forget, the Supreme Court is considering what could really be the end of the Voting Rights Act, which would protect minority groups. So you don't have a state that's half black, for example, that elects only one congressional member and everybody else goes to the Republicans. That would represent that population in some ways. So
yeah. So again, listen to how this person is talking. Listen to how he's framing this. He's saying, well, see, you can't have a state that's half black and you only can have one black district and the rest of the districts go to Republicans, as if Republicans can't be black, right? As if black voters can't elect a black Republican, right? This is on CNN, right? Their data guy. But what he's actually saying is that, see, the so-called Voting Rights Act is racist, right? It's racist because basically they're saying that, no, you have to draw districts based on racial lines, right? You have to draw districts so that black voters can have a black representative. That's what they're doing, right? First and foremost, again, they're assuming that black people are just going to vote for blacks and they're going to vote for Democrats. So again, what is the takeaway here? Well, the takeaway is that, again, the Voting Rights Act, as is, favors Democrats because it essentially guarantees that Democrats have to have a district where they have a black Democrat, right, representing, right? So, yeah, I mean, that to me sounds kind of racist, right? We shouldn't have gerrymandering or redistricting or district lines drawn based off of race. We shouldn't have that, right? But that's what the Voting Rights Act enables, right? That's what it does. It actually enables racism.
if that is gutted, Democrats could lose 19 seats. This would be a huge amount. But this is also a measure of how much the White House is concerned about this, because Donald Trump knows if the Democrats get the House again, there could be new investigations just like last time. There could be a new impeachment. There could be a lot of impediment to these plans that right now the Republicans in the House and Senate are letting run like a freight train.
Yeah. So this guy clearly is very concerned, right? He's very concerned about Trump and the Republican plan. He's clearly voting for the Democrats, right? He's Team Democrat here. So that's why he's in full-blown panic. So, yeah, I mean, this is a huge deal, right? It is made even worse by the fact that Democrats aren't doing well right now. Now, it wouldn't be that big of a deal if Democrats were actually popular, right? If they actually had an approval rating above, I don't know, 40%, 30%, who knows? It might not be that bad. But Democrats, their approval rating is below 30%. I think it's below 20%. Who knows? It could be in a single digits at this point. I don't know, right? But because they're so unpopular, the GOP effort to level the playing field when it comes to redistricting takes away a huge advantage that Democrats currently have, right? And they can't make up for it because, again, nobody is motivated to get out and vote for them, right? Because their party is so unpopular at this point. So, again, this is terrible news for Democrats. If this scenario plays out the way that it looks like it's about to play out, again, it's over. It's over for Democrats. Democrats have to win the 2026 midterms. If they don't, again, I just don't see how they can come back. I just don't see it at this point. It really is do or die for the Democrats next year. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.